Everybody, Nicole Bowman here, psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. So, welcome back to my second live. I wanted to talk about a couple of things this evening, and I hope that everybody is doing well. So, one thing that I do want to say is that if you can hear me, please put a heart in the comment section. Because when you put a heart in the comment section, that helps me to know that people can hear me. So as folks come into the room, just put a heart in the comment section. So this evening, I want to talk a little bit about love and relationships. And I'm going to be sharing some insight from Spirit, and we're going to be talking about partnership. And the reason I want to talk about this is because this is something that people are constantly asking when I'm doing readings. You know, folks want to know when they're going to get married, when they're going to find that significant other, and what life is going to look like for them. And so tonight, I'm going to tap into some things that I saw in the news. So that's the first thing. But I'm also going to be answering questions. So if you do have questions of a spiritual nature, please put them in the comment section, okay? If you're asking questions that are more predictive, like when you're going to buy a house or if you're going to get into the college or university you want, that is more reserved for private readings. But if in a general sense you have love and relationship questions, please drop them in the comments, okay? And let's hope that my allergies do not flare up tonight, okay? So I was reading an article from NPR, and I actually was made notice of this article because there's a creator on this app named Shani Silver. And she is no longer a practicing attorney, but she does have her law degree. And one of the things that she was talking about is there is an NPR article where Tinder is being sued. Tinder, the dating app, is being sued. And it's being sued because what the clients are alleging is that the site is not actually intended for people to find true love, but to have them addicted to the site, similar to a casino with slot machines, where you're just swiping and swiping and swiping, and you're just spinning and spinning and spinning, and you never actually find that significant other. And I thought that was something really interesting to talk about tonight because I've read for so many people who have been on dating apps. I've read for people on apps who have had success with love and relationships, but I've also read for a lot of people who have not necessarily had the success. And then you get off the app and then you get back on, you get off the app and you get back on. And so what I wanted to share in a very general sense is some of the guidance and information that comes through from Spirit when it comes to love and relationship, specifically for those of you who know that you want to be married, right? One of the things that Spirit always says about love and relationship, especially within the context of marriage, is that dating for marriage is very different than dating to have fun or dating to have a sexual relationship. Nothing wrong with the other two, but dating for marriage, there's a higher bar, there's a higher criteria. And one of the things that Spirit often says is that sometimes people run into a little bit of trouble when they know that they want to be married or they know they want to be in a committed partnership, but they choose to settle for someone who just wants to be friends with benefits or just wants to have a sexual partnership. One of the things that I can tell you as someone who has traveled the world, who has lived in different countries, who has been in committed partnerships and has also been happily single, one of the things that I can tell you is that you have not met all of the people that are going to love you yet. And there are people in this moment, just as you are, who are willing to love you in all forms, in every iteration. When your hair is messy in the morning, when you don't feel attractive, when you're worried about your job, when you're worried about your money, when you're insecure, there are people who are going to love you in all forms. And I think the most important thing, to the best of your ability, develop who you are as a person. Determine who you are. Determine what type of life you actually want to live. And then think about adding someone to your life versus making somebody the center of your world. So if you are just coming in, my name is Nicole Bowman. I'm a psychic, medium, and intuitive. And this is my I said it was my second live, but it's my third live. It's my second live today. I want to thank everybody who's come into the room. If you have questions on love and relationships, if you want to talk about dating, if you want to look at it from a spiritual perspective, and you have a question for me, please drop it in the comments. And let's see. So I want to say hello to everybody. I want to say hello to Walter and to Zach and to Brandy. And Zach asked, do I have hair? Obviously, this person is trolling. Yes, I have long curly hair. That is huge. This is true. But when I'm doing spiritual readings and spiritual work, I typically tend to cover my head. And that's for spiritual purposes. So as I was saying before, I was talking about love and relationships, and I was talking about dating. You know, one of the major things, and this is kind of a myth that Spirit speaks of, is that people often think, or sometimes people will give the advice, well, you have to learn to love yourself first before you're in a relationship. And while that is absolutely true, just because somebody has not found their significant other yet, that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't love themselves. It just means that it hasn't happened yet. So I don't want anybody to be beating themselves up if you do want to be partnered. You know and understand that those things will happen in the right time and space sequence. And for some people, that happens later in life. One of the things that comes through in relationships a lot when I'm reading for folk is that a lot of times people are on society's timeline. So they think by a certain age, by a certain time, they should have this job, they should have this career, they should make this amount of money. And that's what they seem to believe. And if they don't achieve those things by a certain time, they feel as if they're a failure or they're behind. And the only thing that I can really tell you is that each and every one of us has our own purpose. There are some of us in this lifetime that are not meant to have kids. There are some of us in this lifetime that are not meant to have a family. There are some of us in this lifetime that will meet the love of our life much later. There are some of us in this lifetime that will have many fulfilling relationships or many relationships that are learning experiences on the way to meeting that person. And there are some of us who will look at our kids and see them as the love of our life, or our vocation as the love of our life. So I think the most important thing on a spiritual level is that we have to expand our thinking and we have to expand our scope about what love is and what it looks like. So let me go into the room here. I just want to say hello to everybody else who is coming in. Hello to Brandy. Hello to CMB, Velasquez, and Dean. And my name is Nicole Bowman. If you're just joining the live, I'm a psychic medium and intuitive artist. I've been reading professionally for well over a decade, writing music, writing books, helping people to heal and evolve and trust their intuition. And tonight we're talking about dating and relationships. So I am answering your questions as it relates to relationship and partnership. You are more than welcome to put things into the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. So I'm going to swipe back. And as I said before, I have allergies a little bit. So if they flare up, you guys, I'm so sorry, but we do the best that we can. I want to talk about something that comes through in partnership a lot when I'm reading for folk. One of the major things the Spirit consistently says is that you want to look at the actions and behavior of a person over what they say. There are so many people that if they know you want to be in a committed partnership or relationship, they will do everything in their power to mirror you. And they will do everything in their power to say that they want what you want. But what you have to do is you have to stretch it out and almost treat it as if you're checking them out, right? When you keep your emotional investment low, and when you are just simply taking your time, it has a way of weeding out those people. It has a way of weeding out those people who are insincere. A lot of times what I've found is you stretch it out 3 to 6 months, for example, and you're dating more than one person, right? And you're taking your time and you're looking at their character and you're seeing them in many different seasons and iterations of life. You're seeing them angry, you're seeing them mad, you're seeing them with money, you're seeing them without. When you see people in many different seasons, that gives you a clear insight into who they are as a person and whether or not they're compatible for you. And so I think that's something that is so important to note. I also want to talk about some changes that I'm seeing happening right now. And it's more of a message that Spirit has for us. And this is not just in dating and relationships, this is also in life. There is definitely a split between those of us who have been doing our work spiritually and those of us who are not. And one of the things the Spirit is saying is that for those of us who are doing our work spiritually, we may at times feel like our energy is being pulled on by people. That may happen at times. And one of the things that Spirit says is to really be selective with who you let in. Because everybody that comes in is not necessarily adding to your life. They're not necessarily enriching your life. They're not necessarily joining and uplifting in a positive way. Pay attention to how you feel when you're in someone's presence, but also pay attention to what you feel when you leave their presence. Do you feel drained? Do you feel insecure? Do you question yourself? And if you didn't feel that way coming in, chances are you may be picking up on their energy field, right? I want to segue a little bit out of love and relationships if no one has any questions. And I want to talk a little bit about those of you who are cycle breakers. This is a really big theme that I see over the course of this year, but definitely between now and about 2027, 2028. There are so many of you who have incarnated into families and friend groups where your purpose was to break generational curses. Your purpose was to break these negative patterns that families, that friends, that groups of people were holding on to. And as a result of that, in some respects, you found yourself maybe being ostracized, right? You found yourself maybe being mistreated by folk. But what Spirit is basically saying is this: if you know you are a truth teller, if you know you are here to bring healing to a space, you've got to believe in that and you've got to own that. I want to say hello to everybody who is coming into the room. Hello to Trish. Hello to Lydia, James, Crazy 8, and Isaac Martinez. My name is Nicole Bowman. I'm a psychic, medium, and intuitive artist. Welcome to my live. Tonight we're talking about love and relationships from a spiritual perspective, but we're also talking about the roles that we play as spiritual workers and as light workers in our family and our friend group. One of the things that I was mentioning as people were coming in is being more selective about the company we keep, right? I think that for a lot of us in this iteration, we have to be more selective about who we allow in. It doesn't mean we can't have conversation. It doesn't mean we can't have a laugh. It doesn't mean that we can't have a talk with folk. But there's a difference between having that and people being acquaintances and actually allowing folk into the interior of your life. And one of the things that I see with highly sensitive people and very empathic people is that sometimes there's a tendency to not have firm boundaries and let people in too soon, too quick. And then you find yourself getting hurt, or then you find yourself getting drained. And so what I want to say about this is just give it time. Give it time. Because if somebody is meant to be in your life for the long haul, there really is no rush. What you will find is that people who are rushing, people that are pushing, people that are forcing, they're running away from something. They're usually running away from themselves. So I'm going to jump into the chat room and see if we have any questions. If there are any questions that you have for me, just type them in the comments. And then if we don't have any more questions, I think I may end the live in a minute. Because I do want this to be interactive, but if people are fine with just listening, of course you can just listen. The last thing that I want to talk about, and I've been talking about this a lot on all of my lives, is what's happening with our brothers and sisters in Palestine. I've also been talking a lot about celebrity in Palestine and how that intersects. I'm sure that many of you have noticed that we have had celebrities that have spoken out and spoken in support of our Palestinian brothers and sisters. And then we have also had celebrities that have gone silent. If you go to my page, Live the Light at Nicole Intuitive here on TikTok, you will see that I've done a series of readings on the fall of celebrity in 2024 and the change of the cult of celebrity, because I did see that that veil was thinning and that veil was lifting. But what I want to talk about is this, okay? One of the things that we're seeing when it comes to celebrity this year is that many of our favorite celebrities do not have as much power or wealth or influence as we once thought they did. And part of the reason that some of them are unable to speak out about things that matter is because they are beholden to people that sign their checks. So they know and understand that if they speak out about a particular cause, their entire livelihood may be taken away. I want you to watch very carefully the people who speak out and are very clear and definitive about this genocide, and the people who stay silent, or the people who give a half in, half out answer. Because the vast majority of the time, if the people are not equivocally saying what this is and calling a thing, what is happening is that they don't have the freedom that we think they do. And we need to see that. We need to know and understand that celebrities are people just like us. There is nothing wrong with loving your favorite artist or listening to great music or having that wonderful experience. But there's a difference between that and pedestalizing someone. And what Spirit is causing us to do and calling us to do is, instead of putting people on pedestals, they want us to take people off of those pedestals, and they want us to look around at our friends, at our family, at our community, at the people we see every day, and support them, right? So I will say there have been some celebrities who have been in support of Palestine, some for a very long time, some quite recently. But one of the people that I was thinking about, a wonderful artist and singer-songwriter, rapper, Lupe Fiasco. I became acquainted with his music a long time ago, and he was talking about Palestine before anybody else was. He was also very critical of the Obama administration, and he was always very critical of American imperialism. He always spoke truth to power. And I think that in this day and age, I think it's so important to be the people that we say we are, where our words, our thoughts, our actions line up. I was also thinking about Jenna Ortega, and I believe her name is Melissa Barrera. Both have spoken up for the people in Palestine, and I think that there's such bravery there, right? And then there's also Mark Ruffalo. So there's such bravery. And it reminds me of that phrase, Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers, look for the people who are helping, right? It does break your heart when folk that you looked up to, folk that you thought were a certain way, are not speaking up and are not necessarily standing on the just side of history. And you have to mourn that. You have to mourn who you thought those people were, you know, on the great stage and on the grand stage, but also in our personal lives. Because one of the things that I have also found is that what is happening in Palestine, you know, what is happening, it's not just affecting things on the world stage, it's also affecting things in our daily life. And I'm seeing that, and I know a lot of you are feeling that as well. And you may find that some of your personal relationships are thinning out or are compromised because of where your belief systems fall. But let me tell you something. We are not free until all of us are free. As the great Martin Luther King Jr. said, this is the truth. So we have to stand for our brothers and sisters. We have to pray for a new world. We have to envision a world where our Palestinian brothers and sisters are liberated. And we have to envision a world where our Israeli brothers and sisters are able to throw off the shackles of being oppressive. One of the things I can tell you as a descendant of chattel slavery, you know, family and people that I know, there are many who have stories about sundown towns in the United States of America and lynchings and the Jim Crow South. And we know the negative effect that had on Black people. But one of the things that we don't talk about as much is the negative effect it would have had on the white people who were inflicting that brutality. Because brutality doesn't just affect the oppressed, it also affects the oppressor. You know, think for a second about who you have to become in order to put your foot on somebody else's neck. Think for a second about who you have to become in order to make somebody else kneel before you. Think about what that takes. Because that's not strength. That's cowardice. That's not boldness. That's not even audacity. It's fear. It's fear. And what are you afraid of? Are you afraid if you lessen that hold, that person is going to retaliate against you? Why would you be afraid they would retaliate against you if you haven't done anything wrong? You see? So I think we're almost there. If no one has any questions or comments, I think we're almost there. I just got a flash of something. Dr. Joy DeGruy, she educates about the relationship between blacks and whites in the United States of America. And she coined a term called post-traumatic slave syndrome, where she looks at the negative effects of slavery on African Americans who are currently living and how trauma is passed down through generations. And as I look at my Palestinian brothers and sisters, and as I look at my Israeli brothers and sisters, I can't help but think about the trauma that is being passed down. I think it's time to break that cycle. I think it's time for us to understand that we are all children and daughters of the divine. And we have to learn to live together. You know, it's not about pushing people out. It's about calling people in. So my final prayer before we finish this live is that eyes will continue to be opened, that eyes will continue to stay on Palestine, that we will continue to march and walk and pray and live in solidarity with our Palestinian brothers and sisters. I just got a flash of eating a meal and leaving an empty chair for our brothers overseas. And maybe you might want to do that, to be in solidarity with them, that there is a place for them, that a place is being created for them, and they will be free. So, my name is Nicole Bowman. I am a psychic medium and intuitive artist. For readings and more, you can find me at NicoleBowman.biz. And if you enjoyed this live, please follow my page. There are a number of videos on spiritual work and psychic protection and a whole sort of things. And I would really love it if you would support my channel, and you would like the videos, and you would tell people about these lives, okay? So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll be back soon. And I think we're here.